Welcome to Money Talks, a series of interviews with me, Liam Halligan, Economics and Business Editor of GBNews. In this episode, I talk to Tim Slee, CEO of Events in the Sky. A serial entrepreneur with a background in media, Tim's founded and owned some of the UK's best-known specialist titles and websites over the last 20 years, including Square Mile, Hedge, Foodism and Escapism magazines. In a new venture, Tim created Events in the Sky in 2019, a company that specialises in hosting breakfasts, afternoon tea, dinners and lively cocktail parties complete with live music over 100 feet up in the air, with guests suspended from an enormous crane. Having just completed his company's post-pandemic relaunch next to the O2 Arena in East London, once known as the Millennium Dome, this proud Cornishman's determined to drive his business forward, taking Events in the Sky around the country. Tim, we're above the skyline in London. It's the O2 behind us. How did this happen?
Well, we've spent the last 2 weeks building it here and the weather's come out and you're one of the first people up here, Liam.
So you founded this business, London in the Sky. This is your relaunch after lockdown, if you like. What is it that you're trying to achieve here by the O2 Centre in the heart of London?
Well, to give everybody a very nice time, first of all, and it's a spectacular setting for it. So we could be anywhere, but this feels like one of the best places that we could rock up. And yeah, we're here for the whole summer now.
So tell me about the business. What is the service that you're offering? We're not just up here for a chat, are we? I mean, there's a lot more to London in the Sky than that.
Well, yes and no. Mainly we're offering good times for everybody who turns up, and it's a lot of the people are here for that. So they're here for celebrating birthdays or events, or it could be a work thing, it could be corporates, and it's a special and very unique thing.
I have to say, we are really quite a long way above ground. I'm not usually scared of heights, but I feel excited rather than petrified, though.
Good.
It could go either way.
That's a good thing, yeah. It's certainly, even for me, this is my first time up here this summer.
It's pulse racing, isn't it?
Yeah, it's. I haven't looked down fully yet, but it doesn't look so high from the ground. But up here, yeah. Even though I've been on lots of times, it's the first time this year, and it's it can still get you.
Well, people listening to this and watching this on the television, let's get to the first things they'll be thinking about, the safety issues. Now, I am strapped in here. I've got 3 straps across me. I couldn't get out even if I wanted to. I think that's the point. Everyone who's aboard at the moment, we got chefs, we got obviously my camera crew and colleagues and so on. Everyone's on a kind of safety chain, aren't they? But you're obviously a very persuasive guy, Tim. How did you convince the authorities, the health and safety crowd, that this was going to be okay?
Sure, well, you're right. Safety is one of the most important things. It's there's a lot more to think about than a normal restaurant, and you're right. So you've got the safety of the people strapping in, and then before we came up, there was a safety speech, and
Indeed.
You've got the safety not just of us on the table, but of everybody below. So you'll have noticed that when we came up, there was a big safety zone beforehand. So one of the questions we get asked by everybody is, do you ever drop anything? Well, the answer is yes, that does happen over the summer. It doesn't end up in the same state as what it was on the table, but when it lands. But luckily, due to a large safety area beneath, then that's exactly where it goes. And all the regulations, then we work with a company in Belgium who they actually came up with the concept. So they design the tables, they design the hardware, and they make sure it goes through all the compliance, and they do a lot of that for us, and then we link in with them. So very, very safe setup. It's in over 60 countries in the world. We have the rights to the UK and Ireland, and we pop up all over the UK, but predominantly we choose to be here at the O2 in London.
Tell me what you're doing before, because I know your name. You were a media guy. You were launching magazines, and quite successfully, if I may say so. Tell us a little bit about your media career and how you segued into this.
Sure, yes. I think whatever I did before this, however you segue into this, it's going to be a strange one, right? So, media was my first career, and for 18 years launching various different magazines, from magazines for the finance and the city world through to food, drink, travel. And actually it's not too much of a stretch from that world, because with media often comes events, and one of the events that we saw was at the time what was known as Dinner in the Sky, and it was very much a corporate event on a much smaller scale. It was in London for maybe 10, 12 days a year, and it would pop up at various other things for corporate entertaining, really. And we saw the opportunity to acquire the business, and just before COVID in 2019, it was the perfect business really to be able to introduce to social media and to grow and to make it something more for the everyday consumer as opposed to just for the corporate world.
I guess there are crossovers with the media, because you're building a brand here. It's about getting the word out. It's about marketing, advertising and so on, things that you're pretty well versed in.
Yeah, so it's the best word of mouth business that you can get, really. And it hadn't been doing much of shouting about itself. Word of mouth, it lived exclusively off, but there was no real social media presence. Website wasn't great. The operation was still good, but we thought we could bring it a bit more into...
A bit of media savvy into what was operationally and practically a good business.
Sure, so we've got big spends on social. We spend hundreds of thousands of pounds on social media advertising, and that's where predominantly all of our tickets come from. And we introduced a PR company to it. We have lots of chats with the media, and we invite lots of different people down, lots of reality TV shows, all sorts of things, anything to make sure that we're getting the name out and we're seen. And seems to have a massive effect. If we have influencers or any media up here, it seems to generate huge views. It's a weird concept.
Oh my God, look at this kind of a business, isn't it?
Yeah, it's not me and you can be talking like this now, but you forget that we are actually...
I just dangled my foot over the side and sort of waving around.
We've got nothing beneath our feet.
Feels quite weird.
Yeah.
So you started in 2019, you didn't know the pandemic was coming. Obviously, that must have been quite a blow. Did you have any moments where you lost heart? I mean, you must have been, just in terms of this business, I know you've got lots of other business interests, but this must have been on ice for quite a long time.
Exactly that, yeah. So in 2019, we had our summer season, finished in July, and it was a great season, and it was really a proof of concept for this. We were at the O2 again, and it was super successful season. We had signed with the O2 to be here for the next few years. We'd had sponsors come on board after being smaller sponsors in the first year, commit to wanting to be headline sponsors, and big kind of 6-7 figure contracts almost.
Wow.
And all of that fell out of bed as a result of it. And I mean, it was one of those things. We were lucky because it's a small team. It feels like it's a big operation here because there's lots of staff, but we're hiring in staff for the event. But as far as the head office,
and you're also getting set up, aren't you, for your relaunch?
Yeah, that's it. So there's lots of people here, there. But the pandemic was super tough, not just for us, but for any events business. For lots of things. Some businesses could operate in some way, but for us it was just a complete non-starter. So we had to put it completely on ice, defer tickets. Most of the people who bought tickets were everybody was really good about it.
Yeah.
And it was a waiting game. And there was a point of how long you can wait, really, because there's associated costs, even not in day-to-day operation.
Yeah.
And lots of events businesses didn't quite make it, and we had all those same thoughts. Yeah, just how long can't go on indefinitely. But luckily we were able to get back out almost exactly 2 years to the day. So in 2021 we got out for a shorter season. Right at the very back we got out to do a little bit last year. Again, it was a gamble in uncertain circumstances,
because lockdown eased for a few months, didn't it?
Lockdown eased, and we thought, okay, let's push it back towards the end of the summer and see if we can get away with doing something then. I mean, to be fair, unwittingly, this has been a kind of COVID not COVID proof, but if ever there was a restaurant designed for COVID, I mean, there's no more al fresco dining than this. And even if me and you wanted, we can't get near each other. We're socially distanced.
That's right.
So.
And we are moving around. We're not spinning around for mechanical reasons. We are literally just moving around in the breeze, and it's part of the pleasant aspect of the experience that you're getting a sort of 360 degree view of by the O2 here in Greenwich in London, because we are just moving around in the breeze. But it is mainly a fair weather business, right? You're not planning to come up here for Christmas dinner in sheepskins or something.
Maybe it could be the next business. We did consider doing a kind of wrap up like the Ice Bar with heaters and Santa in the sky.
We've got a roof here. I mean, even if it was raining, it would still be okay.
Yeah.
Because you've got a pretty substantial kind of clear roof that lets the light in, but hopefully keeps the rain out.
So the rain is fine. I mean, it's more preferable if it doesn't, of course. But it's more just high winds and the unpredictability of like the weather, and of course it's a lot colder in the winter and it's more enjoyable summer event. We feel it's probably better to keep it to the summer months.
Your model was you took a business that was there, you added your media savvy, your social media smarts to it to build a brand. You're also moving it away from being not just a corporate event, but also being for sort of family events and so on. We are in a cost of living crisis. Mm-hmm. It is a kind of it's a 3-figure experience in terms of costs. Though I know you've got a big menu of costs and you try and keep it as good value as possible. Are you a bit concerned about the relatively high price point, given that a lot of families don't have the disposable income that they perhaps expected to this time last year?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it's a consideration for everybody at the moment, and this is a considered purchase, so there are cheaper places to go and have a meal for sure, but a lot of people are here to celebrate something, and they still want to do that. So birthdays, work promotions, any kind of celebrations or parties, then this seems to be the choice for it. And we do have some good value tickets, so Saturdays and Sundays are more expensive perhaps than Wednesday and a Thursday if you're coming for lunch. And in May we've got really good deals at the start, and so you can come from as little as £79. And
that includes your meal?
That includes your meal, yeah, and drinks.
Well, you can spend £30 or £40 easily in a restaurant, and you're not up here in the sky with this view.
Yeah, I feel it represents good value, and it's a very, very unique thing, and people are going to come away with it with memories which will last for a long time.
So the food is cooked on the ground. We're just looking down, you've got temporary buildings here, tents, and you've got your chefs doing their stuff in there, but then you have a chef here on board who's serving the food. Is it a varied menu, or is this mainly about the view and the experience as opposed to the food?
So yeah, we do everything from breakfast, brunch, lunch, dinner, afternoon tea, cocktail flights, which is the only one which doesn't have any food and can get attract the more rowdy customer. They're great fun. And all the meals are choices, so we cater for everybody, 3-course meals. Part of the cooking is done downstairs, as you alluded to, but then a lot of the theatre is done and finished off in front of everybody up in the sky. So yeah, it's a really special experience. You get to see the chefs cooking close up, or in the case of the bartenders, then they're doing their thing right in front of you with the music on, and it's great fun.
You must have been really determined to set this up, because there are lots of legal, bureaucratic hurdles to overcome. What would you say to people starting out in business who maybe feel they need a bit more of that va-va-voom?
It's nice to look at the end game, so the big picture, but ultimately it's in bite-sized chunks. So if we were to look even at just the setup of this event over the last 2 weeks, there's so much to take on board, let alone all the marketing and everything that goes into it. And it's really just breaking that down into manageable chunks, having a good team with you and just working through those bits. But yeah, ultimately there's lots to it, and you need just to keep ticking them off and pushing through those things.
So every day, get up and do as much as you can under the headings that you can, but keep your eye on the prize long term, eyes on the horizon.
Yeah, some days are better than others and you get more done and they're frustrating, but ultimately that's the plan, yeah.
It must be a buzz though, Tim, when a vision comes to fruition and actually starts making money, whether it's launching a magazine, which I know you've done many times before, or launching this crazy business where you're allowing people to eat, drink and be merry, suspended, 100, 200 feet in the air next to the O2.
Yeah, having any successful business is clearly the end game for anybody. It has to wash its face and be worth your time. But with this business particularly, which I hadn't really given a thought until you see the whole thing in operation, it's actually the people. Like, people genuinely come off this saying that is one of the best things I've ever done. And when I don't know if anybody's ever said that when they're reading a magazine, So, but no matter how good the magazines are, but people will come off this, and it really is an experience. And everybody is usually here for some kind of reason, and that is a really good buzz to see us achieving on a customer service level.
And what's the vision here? Obviously, we're here in London, in the capital. Do you want to roll this out across the UK? Do you want to roll it out across Ireland? How big could this be?
Well, as it's already in operation in 60 different countries, then it's run slightly differently. It's run perhaps more of the corporate model in the other countries. So we've had
a business client base,
very business focused. But since our incarnation over the last few years, nearly every other region and country has reached out to us to talk to us about how we could possibly do that.
Making it more for everybody.
Yes, exactly that. And it's our platform that we built a custom booking platform, and that's perhaps more efficient than it is anywhere else in the world. So we've got the option to maybe run the ticket sales for the rest of the world, which would be my preference rather than as an operator going to different countries. Maybe more just running the tickets and the facilitating of that. As for doing it in other locations, then I'm very happy at the O2. It feels it's a nicer thing to be in one place. Be it somewhere else in the future if we move on from the O2. It's still, I feel it's better to be in one place, because the operational problems previously, when we bought this business and it was corporate focus, was every time you move, if you're going from Glasgow to Liverpool to Manchester and down to London, it's new staff that you're hiring there. Yeah. It's new regulations, it's new councils, it's new places, it's a new landlord. Yeah. So we don't own the land here, we rent that from the O2, of course.
That's a lot of paperwork, a lot of bureaucracy, a lot of management. And you are mobile, all this stuff fits on the back of several lorries, but it's not like a fairground ride you just set up. It takes a lot longer than that, doesn't it?
It sure does, yeah. So it takes 2 weeks of setup and long days, and to create what essentially anybody walking in looks like it's been here for a very long time and isn't going anywhere. So yeah, it's a full bar and marquee and DJ setup and garden and everything down there. It's
Tim Slee, is this the maddest business you're ever going to do, or do you see something even more insane on the horizon?
This will probably be the strangest one ever, yes. I've recently bought a farm, which we're going to be turning into a yoga retreat. My partner, she's a yoga teacher, and that is down in Cornwall.
And you're a Cornish lad, proud?
I am a Cornish lad.
Bred.
So yes, in my hometown we bought a farm, and that would be a very nice business. Very different segue from this again, but this will definitely be the strangest business I think that I'll ever own, yes.
And finally, what's your advice to people who are thinking that they want to go into business, that they want to build something that makes them money, gives them a purpose in life, brings them pleasure?
Well, rather than thinking of the money first, I think it has to be something that you're interested in. Don't necessarily think you have to have experience in it, have to be interested in it, and you have to have a passion to get to whatever is the top level of that interest and have fun doing it, because without that, it's hard just to chase the money, I think. Maybe go into the finance world or banking if that is particularly what you want to do on that front.
Tim Slee, if it's not against the safety rules, I'm going to shake your hand. Thanks a lot for appearing on Money Talks.
Brilliant.
And you've hurt your thumb there during the setup. You're a hands-on manager.
Yes, yeah, exactly. Thank you, Liam. Cheers.
Thanks a lot for listening to Money Talks with me, Liam Halligan, Economics and Business Editor of GBNews. If you've enjoyed this episode, then please leave a rating or review on Apple Podcasts, YouTube, or wherever you're listening. Do subscribe to this podcast and also check out my daily television show, On the Money, at 1 p.m. Monday to Friday on GB News or via the GB News app. GB News, Britain's news channel.